Your business bank account gets set up. Tried 5 times emailing support, and even though they've answered, the email couldn't provide the answer. So we're still waiting. Uphold is who's setting up those business bank accounts. They are doing the best they can with the volume that we've put to them on the KYB. They've now stated that any new ones, their SLA is going to be 72 hours, but they've got to work through the backlog that we have. We have about 3,000 people that came in almost immediately on the transition there, and they're just overwhelmed. They didn't build an infrastructure to be able to do that at scale. Some of the other stuff is, people uploaded documents that didn't have certain things in them in order for them to be able to verify and then pass the KYB. So our team is proactively reaching out to those individuals to rectify, whatever issues there are on those submissions to make sure that they have the information they need to be able to pass you through. I think we've got a couple hundred accounts open over there, so it's just a slow deal, and I apologize for the delay on that. Our team is working diligently to get it done. I can assure you of that. It is taking much longer than we would like it to also. So this is the first time that Uphold's ever done this for anybody. They literally built the KYB and LLC function for us to be able to launch this product. They've had business bank accounts on their platform, but they're few and far between, nowhere near this amount of volume in a short period of time. And so the infrastructure that they had was fairly manual, and they had just assigned kind of one person to our account. And when they saw the volume, they were a little bit overwhelmed. So all that said, we appreciate the grace and the patience. We are working diligently to get it done, and I do expect that to be there for you in the next couple of weeks, pending Uphold moving through it as fast as they can. Oil field broke. If you're in the oil field, you're not broke, I mean. He says, hello, Jake. Best guess on how much XRP is left on exchanges, dark pools, etc. I haven't seen, Ripple's escrow is going to be released here in the next few days on Friday. They will release their escrow, or Saturday, just depends on where they get around to it. If they were to not put any more onto the market, that could exacerbate the supply shock that we've all been hoping for and waiting for. That would remove, I think, once you see Evernorth launch, I think we're going to get some other ETFs in the not too distant future, maybe that BlackRock ETF that we've been waiting on. And with that additional volume, I think the dark pools and the OTC desks will be gone very quickly. I think there's only, somewhere between 2 and 300 million XRP left available for trade on exchanges at this point. So that would be gobbled up very quickly, and the prices would move exponential on the other side of that. They would gap up like we've been talking about. And again, that's if Ripple does not release their escrow onto the market and sell onto the market, which that is part of how they fund their business. But we got shareholders notice from Brad Garlinghouse today for their Q1 update, which was nice. And some good news in there around their business and where they're headed. Joseph, he says, legend. What's up, dude? Does XRP have spoofed artificial cell walls, or real walls that keep the price under 146? If so, how do the walls break? A lot of it's done on algorithms and trading bots to be able to hold price where it is, and they do that through forced sales and buys on the exchanges. It's heavily manipulated. Like, if you do any research and you look at their on-chain analytics, you can tell that when they're ready to let it go, it'll go. And until then, I think we're going to hover right around 140. I've told you guys before, my tinfoil hat on 140 on a clock that is 20 to 2, which has been in the background of multiple Ripple videos. So we'll see, if there's any correlation there. But until something moves and things break here, I think we're just going to continue to hang out and trend sideways. Waiting on Satoshi to move his Bitcoin. I don't know if it's Satoshi himself or whoever controls those wallets, but we've got the quantum deal. So I don't know if I've talked about that on here or not, but because of the risk of quantum, the Bitcoin community are going back and forth on what they should do to mitigate the risk of that. A lot of the early wallets are exposed to quantum risk, including all of the wallets that Satoshi has that holds the 1.1 million Bitcoin, which is a little bit over 5% of the total supply at this point. If those were hacked and those Bitcoin removed or liquidated onto the market, you would see huge sell pressure. It would be a big drop in Bitcoin's price. Now, a lot of people believe that those wallets are lost. Nobody's ever going to access them again. I'm not so sure. I think that there's going to be something to that that comes back to life. We'll just have to see. Jesse, he says, when the Clarity Act passes, what's your prediction for XRP? Not worried about the Clarity Act. I think XRP is going to be 3 or 4 digits before that ever gets passed. Heart of the Father, they say, single member LLC here. Awesome, dude. Post price appreciation, borrowing against the assets with DWP, and taking a distribution from the loan. My understanding is as long as it's lower than the basis, no tax on distributions. Thoughts? Lower than... Understanding is as long as it is lower than the basis, no tax on distribution. Not sure what you mean by that. If you borrow against anything, it's tax-free. So, if you leverage your stocks, you take a HELOC out on your house, you borrow against the equity in your business, borrow against your art, whatever you have as an asset that you can get somebody to lend against, a loan is not taxable. So if that's the distribution you're talking about, it doesn't matter what your basis is whenever you're borrowing against something. It's all non-taxable because you owe the interest on it. It's debt, not a taxable event. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you mean or not. We're working on a yield product to be able to generate distributions for people. We have been for a long time. We've got 5 or 6 options at this point that we're looking to get across the line in the near future. All of them are like 90% there. There's just specific functionality that we have to have in place in order to be able to facilitate everything. And our partners are making that a priority. And they're working, to get that across the line for us. But it is taking longer than any of us would like, believe me. So if that's what you're talking about, then yes, you will have distributions off of those investments, but the loan itself would not be taxable. It's Mario, Music Man. He says, thoughts on ZBEC and its recent price action? Do you think the move is likely to be sustained and hit a new all-time high? I got in at 1/10 of a penny last year. Would love to see it for the people that are invested in it. There's a lot of people that are ZBEC bulls out there and have a portion of their portfolio allocated to that. That's not me. Happy to see it if it continues on, with the price action and momentum that it has to be able to get past all-time high. I think it's a good investment. I think that there'll be returns. I think that it has a real-world application. I just don't think it has anywhere near the potential that XRP has. Personally, again, just my personal opinion. Talk with your financial advisor, and this is probably a good time for my disclaimer. Nothing here is financial advice. It's only for entertainment and educational purposes. You should always consult with a CPA, an attorney, or a financial advisor.